space that could move around for people to connect. I was taken by what you said, Stephanie, about that the relationships are the key thing, and it does have to be face to face. I'm convinced of it. So groups like Alternate Routes that every year bring 250 people together, a third of whom have never met each other, to build that space, that place for people to make those genuine connections that then lead to networks. And the other thing we talked about too was about building people's power, which you all brought up, and that one of the ways that this happens is through the expression of arts and culture, that people build their sense of personal agency and expression through these tools, which is, period.
Great, huge.
Let me say a couple of words about, I said something about space. Let me say something about the church. The leadership of this is visibly a pastor, William Barber. He knows how to bring a word that actually reflects the best of our tradition, and he does that. What we have been able to do is to get about 75 clergy on the phone once or twice every month. And we've developed a lectionary, a movement lectionary, sermons to preach. If you don't know anything about how to preach about justice, just get up and read this. Ask somebody to say amen. And it's interfaith, yeah. So you got to do that work. Otherwise, and people gradually begin to feel it, feel comfortable with it, are able to do it. Youth have played an important role, but should be playing a greater role. And the way youth have come in, everybody's there on Moral Monday. But Witness Wednesday is basically Youth Day. And the whole issue of what's happening on college campuses, closing down voting places, denying a student the right to run for city council, all of that is pulled in youth. And I think the space to give expression to that has been powerful.
I mean, my relationship to Highlander is I've been working with them for about 3 years now, mostly with Seeds of Fire organizing, which is a youth-based work that Highlander interacts with young people who are doing work throughout the South and Appalachia. So my role has been as an adult ally, as someone on the advisory committee, as staff, as an intern, as Landry's right-hand helper, and just someone who's also a part of the Seeds of Fire family. I feel like these are issues that folks of Seeds of Fire are already addressing, so I think more than anything what we're really yearning for, because we just had a strategic sort of planning session on Friday of this weekend to talk about what is the future of Seeds of Fire, and what we really want is to start intentionally archiving the work that we've done over the past,
You heard it here.
13, almost 15 years with Seeds of Fire-based work, so that there is a central space of information so that we can maintain networking, because we've realized that we want to know whatever's going on in Houston, what's going on in West Virginia, and how can we utilize our resources and knowledge to keep up with each other as family and as organizers and as communities outside of just Facebook. How can we keep up that momentum that we feel within that week and a half that we share together beyond?
So I work with Project South. We're based in Atlanta, and we've been longtime partners with Highlander, so it was great and really an honor to do this space with Pam and Michael. And to think about movement infrastructure in this moment in the South, because there's so many new opportunities that are coming up through all of these emerging movements, so especially the youth-driven movement, as well as others, and how to have those conversations and not just leave them in a space like this, but actually move them forward into our organizing work and into long-term building that starts to look like the visions that we described throughout the conversation. So Project South is based in Atlanta. We do a lot of different kinds of programs, including a youth community action program that happens ongoing throughout the year, and definitely support other youth movement that's happening through something called the National Student Bill of Rights. And then we do a lot of regional work as well, including this Southern Movement Assembly process. So we're one of the anchors of that process, and really building folks, building with communities, groups, and organizations to come together and start to develop principles of unity, this level of governance, and really start to make collective hits where we need to, and build the kind of infrastructure that we need to not just survive, but like sustain and I think carry people's power forward.
Thank you.
Yes.
And here we are at the Highlander Center, and had a nice conversation with you. Thanks for talking to us about the amazing books that you have here. But I'm curious, and I know a lot of our readers want to know what wakes people up. What was your wake-up moment? You've been working at Highlander Center now for how many years?
I've been at Highlander for 3 years.
3? What was it that brought you here? What was it that woke you up, and how old were you?
Well, when I was old. I grew up in the 90s, and I wasn't really political. When September 11th happened, I think everybody had that moment. And more than just September 11th itself, what was the response to the Bush administration and the things that kept going on. So a few days after September 11th, Congress decided to sell more bandwidth, to allow more bandwidth to media corporations. So you can own more and more of the media share in a given market. So it's just, bigger and bigger things controlling the information that we get. And then, of course, the wars, and the protests for the wars. It was so widespread and huge, and it just seemed to not make a difference in terms of... Yeah, it took me becoming involved and fighting, because I knew that the Iraq War was a bad idea, and then seeing that the fighting, I thought, hey, this is the greatest thing. There's so many of us protesting this. This is like people power, and we're going to stop this war, and it didn't happen. And so that kind of made me realize that this is a long haul thing, and just because you didn't stop the war doesn't mean that you didn't form something that was lasting out of that. And so I just started learning more and more about social movements, and because we got to change something, we got to make a change. So there you go.